What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. You would have seen last video was mucking about mounting the ECU and the M unit, and this was fighting us. Basically we went to, Steve-O just marked out where the studs were going to go. We got some studs that fitted and everything else. Went to put it on and it was fighting us. You could hear the earthing points sort of clicking as they're going over the threads because it was really tight. I'm not happy with that. We measured the difference between the top and the bottom of the studs and it was 0.3 of a millimetre out, but it's enough. Yeah, I mean that's just a tiny amount, but it is enough. So I'm not happy with that. So anyway, after he was told not to, Steve-O went and bashed it with a hammer.
Well, my mother might disagree, but can we just try it?
No, we're not. No, please. Breathe on it heavy, you'll move it 0.3 of a mil. Don't hit anything. Oh, you dingleberry.
He'd bash anything he can, given half a chance. Anyway, so it's now gone from 0.3 of a millimetre out to 2.2 millimetres out. And that's just bad. And if you feel underneath, you can feel a little tiny bit of a, it's got a bit of a this going on underneath. Because these studs are literally just welded to 1.8 millimetre thick cold rolled steel. Now it could be that it's just the penetration. I can see penetration there, but I don't want to just keep knocking it to try and get it right, because I don't want to make that worse. So I'm going to do it the way I should have done it, start off with, and use a guide, which I'll make up in a second. You'll see all that. That way I can get these put on and it should just slide off and on without any worries at all and give us a really good earth. So, but yeah, I'm not going to run a drill through these to open it out, because the shoulders that you can see are just painfully thin. You can't get into this to see how it's all connected or anything else. And if the drill bit was to catch it and spin it, you know, it could disconnect these from whatever it's connected to inside. I don't know what it's connected to. It's just like a sealed thing. So we need to do the mounts, we need to do them properly. So that's what we're going to do. Right. That's deleted the old studs that we put on. Now we've just got to put some more on. What I've got is, will I use them? I'll use that. I might use that actually. I've got some bits of alley. I'll probably just chop a bit of this off and use this instead. But I have got the M unit and M unit, there you go. M unit, and somewhere I've got the starter solenoid as well. Where's that gone? Good question. Right, so just to show you what's going on, the M unit is going to go in here. I've just deleted the studs that we put in, so I need to remake those and get those mounted. This is the only other real piece of hardware that we've got, which is the starter solenoid. The battery is actually that way a little bit. You know, the battery tray. So this is probably going to mount down the side here, something like that. So it's all nice and sort of tucked out the way and still accessible. We'll mount it with just a couple more tabs, similar to these sorts of things. So that will sit in there. Still be able to get to the fuse just for taking the tank out. It's not going to touch anything. It's all, you know, shrouded and everything else. And it just means that all the cables are still on the right hand side, which is obviously where we want to feed everything. So that's all good. I think that will probably do. So if I mount that like that, that's neat and tidy. And there's plenty of room underneath the tank as well. So that's not going to encroach on anything, and I like that it's all shrouded in this sort of, you know, hard plastic coats and stuff, and then the connector for it can just go in there. Jobs are good, and so that's going to get mounted today as well. But let's start on this. So all I'm going to do, because I mean there is no wiggle room to these mounting holes at all. They are so snug. So what I'm going to do is get a piece of that alley, chop it off, and then I'm going to mark these out properly on the alley, wind some studs into it so I get them in exactly the right place, because this will just fit on top of it. And then once I know they're okay and it's all lined up and everything else, it'll just be a lock nut top and bottom on the alley with the bolt through. I can plonk that on here, tack the bolts in place, take the alley off, and this should slide on without too many problems. But we shall see. Something about best laid plans springs to mind. Really nice bit of kit though, eh? I'm loving that. Right, let's get on with it. Right, so all I've done, I'm hoping you can see. Can you see that? Where is it? There you go. Right, so all I've done is I've got a piece of the alley, drilled a hole in it, shoved a bolt through, put that through the M unit and marked where the other hole needs to be. I had a centre drill which just fitted in there. The nice thing about a centre drill is that it's only the very end of it that's got the drill bit on. The rest of it is just a plain shank, so there's no chance of it catching the inside of this and twisting it or anything else. So I drilled the two holes through something reasonably thick. It's got a nut on either end to keep the bolts square and level, and the idea is I can just plonk that on the under tray, get a couple of tacks on there, because I'll be able to get a welder underneath this, and then I can undo this, pull it off, tack them in properly, and they should be spaced like bang on. This should just slide on with no grunchiness or anything. But we'll find out. How hard can it be? Right, so with a little bit of luck, that way I think. Oh, look at that! See, I should have just done that the first time, instead of getting Steve-O to mark it. Bless him. Right, so that can go there. It's just we could have forced this on. I probably would have got it on, but it would have been tight as anything, and if you ever needed to get it off, it would just be a nightmare. So just have to redo it. That's all fine. That'll do. Quick squirt of something on there just to stop it flash rusting. Right. Don't want to do that starter solenoid. Actually, no. What I'm going to do is have a play with my English wheel, because I've been building it all week. Video's gone up. If you haven't seen it yet, probably worth going and having a look-see, because I know quite a few people have been interested in it. But yeah, the English wheel's all done, and he's called Sherman. Basically, because it's built like a tank, and it just crushes everything in its path. So Sherman it is. Jim thought of that one. So thank you, Jim. So anyway, that's those two units mounted. Happy with that. That's fine. I'll do this bit during the week. I'll tell Steve-O what I'm doing. He'll be fine with it. But I want to get some sheet metal and give that a play. We can start having a crack at this. See what it comes out like, eh? Yeah. Right then, it's English wheel time. Yes. Who is it used to do that? I can't remember. Anyway. Right, what was I, can you see this? Sort of. Let me show you. I've marked stuff out. Okay, so this is the seat ump that we originally played about with. This has been bent around wood, bent around pipe, bent around a different bit of pipe. It's been heated up, it's been bashed with a hammer and a dolly. And as you can see, it's not really very good. Certainly not going anywhere near the bike with that. It's also made out of really chunky stuff too, which was a mistake. So anyway, what I've done is I've gone and bought a 2 by 1 metre sheet of 0.9mm cold rolled steel. And this is sort of more in keeping with the sort of stuff that's used on body panels. Car body panels, for example, that's 0.8mm. So you get the gist anyway, is that sort of thickness. So what I want to do is, if we look at the original, it's easy enough to get that shape going. I mean, that's not perfect, but you can just bend it around a pipe, or you know, bend it around the seat unit itself, or the wooden form that I've got. There's hundreds of stuff that we could do. That's not too bad. But what I want to do is this way. I want it to curve slightly, so it needs to have a curve like that, if that makes sense. I don't want it just flat, because the rest of the bike isn't flat, so it needs to curve that way. So that's what this is for. Obviously these are going to be the sides on the bike. That'll be the front, that'll be the back, for example. And I've just marked out the area in the middle that I want to get a curve going that way. Yeah? Right, this is Sherman. At the minute, I'm just playing, see what it can do. Hang on, let's... So I started mucking about the seat ump. And you can tell I've never done this before, but I'm actually quite impressed with the way things are going. This is just a practice piece, this is nothing more than that. But all I'm trying to do is to get a bit of a curve in it that way, and then obviously a curve in it that way. I'm working on this one at the minute. But I mean, this is absolutely rock solid. It's all bolted down to the desk. And I'm just playing to see what it can do. Because I need to get used to it if we're to, you know, get the seat ump done. And there is a knack to it. I mean, there is like a real knack to it. You see him doing it on YouTube and you think, oh, it looks a doddle. Yeah, it ain't. Not at all. I mean, that said, I am getting the curves in it that I'm after, but it's not easy. I keep forgetting which way I'm supposed to tip it, left or right. Back again. There's one of the fellas I was watching, and he is very good. I'll have to see if I can find his channel and stick a link in or something. But he hand makes all the body panels for Jaguars, like E-types and D-types and stuff. Fantastic, some of the work that he does. And one of the things he keeps saying is only roll it where you want to stretch it. Which sort of makes sense. And I want to stretch this bit, not that bit. So that's why I'm concentrating on this end. But it's, I think it's one of those things, years and years and years of practice and you might be half good. I mean, that's it, it's coming out all right. I have got a sandbag over there. I haven't used that at all. I was thinking it would be a good idea to see what the softly approach would do. How much can you actually get it to bend and form and everything else just by rolling it? That was done in no time. It really was. Because you tend to find when it's like one sheet and you're rolling it, you tend to press down on one end, and as soon as you do that, you really start getting a curve in it. So I just carried on and put more of a curve in it. Probably shouldn't have done that, but it's getting there, and it's definitely curving. That is a really smooth curve too. And I haven't caught my thumb in it yet either. And we're definitely getting that crown that I was after. I'm going to have to chop this down soon, I think, because it's bashing on here. I knew that would be a problem. Yeah, you can see how the crown's getting there. Well, it's not even yet, don't get me wrong, but it is definitely crowning. It's definitely crowning. Well, let's try. See, this is where it's all going to get a bit. Well, that might work. Cool. That's not good. Come on. See, look at that. It changes its shape massively. If you go one way and then the other, it smooths things out, but suddenly it'll all open out because of the shape of the anvil I'm getting. It's really good actually, the way you can manipulate it. It's quite, you have to really think about where the metal you're stretching is gonna go. That's the trick to it, I think. That is definitely the trick to it. You can get curves in stuff quite easy. It's getting the right curve in the right place. That's the thing. Like if you go right to the edge and you get rid of that bounding box, I had a border all around it, and I was just stretching the bit in the middle, and it really does crown up. But then as soon as you go past that, this is what happens. It all opens up again. It's amazing how much it stretches it. Well, like I say, this is just a practice piece, really. Just trying to get used to it, and then I'll have a proper go at making a proper seat hump. Oh, if this one turns all right, I'll just use this, but I don't think it's going to. Well, it's curving. I'll definitely say it's curving. It's quite hard to control though. Biggest problem I've got is figuring out, all right, I'm stretching this bit, where's the metal going to go? And what effect is that going to have on the rest of the panel? It does, I'm not saying it has a mind of its own, but it's not necessarily what you think it's going to be. But I can get the curve in it this way. Getting the curve in it that way is easy. Getting that extra crown on the top that I want, that's proven to be interesting. I think what I'm probably going to end up doing is making a template of how I want it to, the finished thing, how I want it to be and how I want it to fit. Because doing all this, it's only ever going to get bigger. So I'm probably going to do like a proper template to it. I'll trim the old one down so it basically fits. I'll give it like an extra 20mm all round, and then I'll make a template from that, and that's what I'll start rolling. I was going to bash it with the mallet and the sandbag. I just didn't need to. All this curve came out of just rolling it in this. One thing I might end up doing is getting a rubber band for it. I mean, this is stiff as stiff gets. It is solid, absolutely solid. And when you're rolling it, you get a curve that way as well as this way, if that makes sense. Whereas if you put a rubber band on the top, then you can negate the curve that way, and it's only going to curve it in the direction of the anvil. So I think that would help, because this kind of moves about all over the place and not necessarily where you think it's going to go. So this is going to need some practice. But it works, and it works a treat. Hardest part is the tracking. I kept on forgetting and getting muddled up with which way you're supposed to turn it on which stroke, so it tracks across or not. It sounds easy. I know it sounds easy. They make it look a doddle on YouTube, and it just ain't. Well, that's probably just me. I don't know. But Sherman works. Sherman is going to do good. Right, so it's been a bit of an odd day today. I had to have a massive clear up because it was a right tip. I've remounted the M unit as you saw, figured out all the starter solenoid, that's all going in. I've started making some little tie-down clips and stuff as well. They're all going to go onto the frame. So there's lots of little bits and doodads and stuff like that that's going on there. And then the rest of the day has just been spent playing with this. This took about half an hour, I suppose. Yeah, all in all, probably half an hour. I just need to think about it a bit more and figure out quite the order and how to do stuff. But I'll get there. That'll be fine. So anyway, that's how I'm going to leave it today. Thank you very much for joining us. Sorry Steve-O wasn't here, but he's got man flu. So he's laid up in bed, ambulance on standby, all the usual stuff. Hopefully he pulls through, eh? Anyway, I'm going to be playing about with this some more during the week. I'll try and get my head around it, and then we can have a proper go at making a seat hump. That'll be quite cool. That's going to be the bit that changes the look of the back end of the bike, I think. That'll give it a certain stance, and you'll see what's coming. So, Yeah, I'm happy with that. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll catch you again next time. Laters.